We are live. We'll give it a second here. Oh, you got the notification, so we'll give it a couple of seconds here.
Volume way down.
Oh, we got 3 viewers. Hey, everyone. Chris here from Midwest Coaster Fans. Jacob as well is joining us today. The Midwest Coaster Fans team is talking about how COVID and parks kind of coincide with each other. So how parks are dealing with different things related to it and how parks have been in the year 2020. And we're going to start off. We're not really going to go into an intro, but did it go off a second?
No, we're still good. Dustin's watching.
Oh, Dustin. I thought Dustin. Oh, that's right. He's off today. We could have invited him in. Let's see if he wants to come into the chat as well. Dustin, did you want to join the chat? Is he saying anything? He doesn't know. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we're going to be talking about a variety of things today. But to talk about what we're really talking about is we started off the year back in February. Myself and Dustin went over to Nickelodeon Universe, which I guess that's a good thing because we don't even know if Nickelodeon Universe is ever going to open again. We know the one in New Jersey has been given the green light to open out in whatever it's called, that new mall. I can't remember the full name of it. I think it's called American Dream. That one's been given the green light by the state of New Jersey, and because of their finances, they cannot open. So it's kind of a crappy situation there.
SeaWorld San Diego did get a clear today as well to reopen under the classifications of their zoo.
Yeah, and I think they were given that green light yesterday by the state of California, correct? So, and then so this whole COVID thing has to do with probably, the end of March all the way till now. So if we go back to the first park that we visited, we'll go back in. Well, let's just go into just talking in general. So the first park that opened, I think, was Mount Olympus in the Midwest. We went up there, we covered that. And then we were given information that Indiana Beach was going to reopen, and Holiday World was going to reopen. So everything kind of happened nonstop. And I think Indiana and Wisconsin were the 2 states that first opened in the Midwest. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Indiana and Wisconsin had some of the first parks in the country to open. The last park in the country to close was actually Fun Spot, Orlando and Kissimmee, down in Central Florida. And let's just go over, the cleaning techniques of different parks. We'll start, I guess, with Mount Olympus, go to Holiday World, Indiana Beach, kind of just in general on everything like that. So Mount Olympus was kind of the most odd park that we were able to visit. It's a really odd park. So you pay for a hotel night, I think it was $60 for 2 people, and it got you into the park for 2 days, which was kind of odd. One ride operator per coaster besides Hades 360. But then you had the cleaning, which the cleaning was actually done at the end of each ride. So they did a really good job cleaning, and then they kind of became lackadaisical towards the end of it. The park was decently cleaned for, what you're paying for. But that was kind of the first park that we kind of saw COVID kind of cleaning techniques being done. And we didn't know. It was kind of something new to us. I remember we were kind of filming it like, wow, this is kind of interesting. The ride crews kind of cleaning off the coasters after each ride iteration. And I think it made, standing in line like 5 to 10 minutes. And then as different parks kind of came out and changed their techniques around, you had Six Flags that did the 6 things that you'll do to stay clean, which is like before riding the ride, you use hand sanitizer. After going on the ride, you use it again. You wash your hands. They had plenty of hand washing stations all over the place. The one that was different, I guess the one that was different to us, but kind of, it kind of made it feel like the theme park had not changed. Those three were like Mount Olympus, Indiana Beach, Holiday World, because yes, they required social. Well, not Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus didn't care, but Indiana Beach and Holiday World kind of had social distancing things set up, so they required you to social distance, but the masks weren't required because of the state of Indiana. So you still kind of felt like you were still in a pre-COVID type of theme park, and for the most part, everybody kind of social distanced pretty good. And then everybody was wondering why both parks don't clean all the time, and that's the reason. Indiana Beach and Holiday World both use disinfectant that only requires them to clean like every 2 to 3 hours, because it's so many touches before they actually have to clean it, which allows them to send more trains. Unfortunately, Indiana Beach was not social distancing on coasters, but I mean, that could be due to their ride operation standards. Holiday World was requiring it unless you were in a group. So if you were in a group, you could sit rows 1, 2, 3, and then the next group would sit, separate one. So then that next group would sit in row 5. And they were pretty good about, if you asked, you could sit in the back row. And they were good about keeping the groups together.
And one great thing about Holiday World's cleaning stuff was that the sanitizer and everything they have, the disinfectant they used was actually strong enough to be good for a full 24-hour period, but they didn't wait that long to clean. They still cleaned every couple hours. On top of that, they still wiped down all the handrails consistently. And at the start and end of every night, they actually went through and did a head-to-toe disinfectant on the trains before putting them away and getting them out for the day.
Yeah, and I know it made the operations go a lot more smoother. And then I know, like, midway through the day, Holiday World would shut down like one ride per time. And actually, even though, like you said, the disinfect the last 24 hours, they were still applying it during the day as well when the park was open. So they're kind of doing the double thing. And if you looked over, if you were in the Thunderbird station, or if you were coming off of the last brake run on Thunderbird, if you look to your right, you'd see barrels upon barrels and crates upon crates of their solution that they ordered. So Holiday World 7 years in a row was rated the cleanest park in the world. So they know a lot about keeping their park clean. I don't know why it took a lot of parks so long. I don't know why it took a virus for a lot of parks to be like, hey, we need to keep our parks cleaner. I think rides and stuff like this I think a lot of parks should still do cleaning standards like this, even after we kind of, become more lackadaisical about this, and as it kind of goes away a little bit. Indiana Beach was kind of like the one that everybody was commenting the most and saying, different things, because not a lot of people knew about the Indiana mask standards, which Indiana did not have any mask standards for parks because they're open air, and they did have social distance markings, but I guess a lot of people weren't following it. It's all dependent on the different areas, and it's also depending on who actually goes to the parks and what kind of crowds you're bringing into the parks. So I caught on video numerous times them cleaning railings and handrails and stuff like that. I think people are assuming that you go into a park and they're going to be cleaning nonstop all the time. And like we just said, some parks are using standards that last 24 hours. Some of them are using lower solutions that they have to send it every 30 minutes. The one that was kind of, so looking at cleaning, Cedar Fair kind of made a big gimmick of, we're doing all this, blah, 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 blah. And then you go around the park, which was kind of odd. And the hand sanitizer stations didn't have hand sanitizer in them. They didn't have them before boarding rides. It's like they were kind of, it was just different. It's like Six Flags kind of surprised me the most, because they had hand washing stations all over the park. Because as many of you know, after you put so much hand sanitizer on your hands, you have to go wash it off. You can't just keep on letting it layer up. Then it serves no purpose. But Six Flags did a really good job of keeping like hand washing. Well, this was in St. Louis. When I was over at what was it, Great Adventure? Yeah, when I was at Great Adventure in New Jersey, their standards were nothing like the one in St. Louis. So it still varied park to park. But the one in Six Flags St. Louis, in my opinion, out of all the parks that I've been to, had the best setup in terms of hand washing stations everywhere, hand sanitizer before and after you got off the ride. The park was spick and span. Holiday World would probably be my number two, and then you have or Silver Dollar City was really clean as well, like you stated earlier.
Yes, and they had the sanitizing stations before and after, and they even gave you sanitizer. They went through the line when you went to board the train and would put sanitizer on your hands before even stepping onto the train while you're standing in the station.
Yeah, so they kind of took kind of the same type of deal like Universal does, because many of you know I'm down in Orlando now, so I go to Universal kind of a lot, but Universal does the same thing. So they'll put hand sanitizer on your hands before you board it. That also allows them not to have to wipe down and clean the rides as often, because they're ensuring that, the bacteria or the virus is basically gone off your hands. But fun spot, everybody criticized, but I've been there over the last week and they're still spraying. What they do is kind of like a social distancing thing. So their trains only have seat like 6 rows, kind of like what's another small park that has kind of a small GCI? Kentucky Kingdom, with the Kentucky Flyer, only has like 6 rows. So what they do is like one ride iteration, 1, 3, 5 you'll ride, and then it'll be 2, 4, 6 the next time, and they'll just wipe down in between. So they only have to wipe down 3 rows instead of 6. So they were social distancing, but they were keeping their parks clean. There's a lot of heavy criticism. In my opinion, I don't know. You have to look up kind of what the parks are doing, but I think overall, in general, I think we could agree that the parks are doing pretty well on their cleaning techniques. It's kind of frustrating going to parks right now, and I know a lot of people have that kind of frustration because it's causing ride wait times to go up. But at the same time, these parks didn't have to open this year. A lot of them could have remained closed, especially the seasonal parks that if they remained closed the whole season, yes, they would have lost money, but nothing like these annual parks that depend on the source of income 365 days a year. So what park do you think did the best job in terms of cleaning?
Honestly, I was really impressed with Holiday World and Silver Dollar City with how often they were sanitizing the trains, even though they really didn't have to with how strong their sanitizer was. They were still going above and beyond. I mean, even Hershey Park, their sanitizer that they were using at the start of the year was so strong that it was literally taking the paint off the trains, because anything that they had just recently painted, it was just peeling that stuff right off. That's how strong of a sanitizer Hershey Park was using, which is one thing I loved about Hershey Park. What everybody watching, out of the parks you guys have been to this year, let us know what you guys think about how their cleaning efforts have been and which parks you guys have been impressed with.
And we're waiting on a second. I'm going through the comments here. Western New York Coaster says hi. So say hi back. I met him we rode El Toro 3 times in a row. Ride crew is really cool over there. We just switched rows and they kind of let us do our own thing. Shout out to Stephen Wagoner, Dustin from our team. He's going to join us on our next thing. He mentioned, so Dustin mentioned it's not up to the parks to enforce social distancing and mask wearing. And I understand why parks aren't doing it, and here's why. You guys remember that incident that happened in Pennsylvania where the ride operator got his, or where the not the ride attendant, it was the park attendant got his jaw broke? That's the reason why employees are not approaching it. But that's not true. Maybe at Indiana Beach, Holiday World, places like that, Disney is overly aggressive on it. And I'll go over that here in a few minutes and when we go over to the customer service type deal on it.
So in Silver Dollar City, if you didn't have a mask, the coaster didn't leave the station.
Yeah, so some of them are heavily on it. others aren't. It depends on the park operating procedures. And I could totally understand why parks aren't going to have employees approach these crazy people. You don't want to get your jaw broken from some crazy person who doesn't like following standards to begin with. We all know how crazy the public is in general during a regular operating season. Add into the virus and them not wanting to follow rules beforehand. You bring in the virus in the equation and more rules that they have to follow. They don't think it applies to them because they paid for a ticket, but that's a whole different discussion. We all know some of the general public's kind of crazy, but we're going to go on to more fun discussion, which is you go ahead.
Really quick, Drake just commented, and honestly, I agree with you. It does take a little bit longer to load the trains, but they are keeping everybody safe at Cedar Point. I know the first week they struggled a little bit, but I feel like as the season has gone on for them, they have kind of adjusted things here and there, and they've gotten a lot better from the first couple weeks that Cedar Point's been open.
And we all know Kings Island and Cedar Point are cash grabs anyways. They're kind of like Disney, in my opinion. I'm not going to get in a whole discussion on that, but they want you guys to buy the fast lane. So they basically said, screw you to the normal line. We've seen that at some parks. And the fast lane basically, they paid money, so they don't care that you guys are waiting in a 2-hour line. What I think is kind of crazy, though, is that Cedar Point, there's 2 popular coasters there. So I think they're going a little overboard with Millennium Force, Gatekeeper, Steel Vengeance, and Maverick. I still think the access pass should only be 2. And at the same time, the access pass should depend on what the crowd levels are like. But I don't think it's worth it right now. That's why we haven't been out to Cedar Point. Because last season, both times that we were there, spending $300 on fast lane passes on a Saturday. And then I think it was during Halloween Horror, or whatever they call it, Haunt. During Haunt, the lines were so bad for fast lane. Imagine paying $160 on top of your normal fee and only being able to ride Maverick, or not even be able to ride Maverick. It was down when we were there. Only being able to ride Steel Vengeance twice the whole day because it's so busy in fast lane where the lines were still about 2 hours long. The regular lines were 4.5 to 5 hours long. But that's like we just said, that's a whole nother subject. But I totally agree. I think that Cedar Point should allow fast lane that's been previously purchased, but I think the access pass is totally pointless. If people want to wait in line for 3 hours for one ride and then go back and wait another 3 hours for the same coaster, let them do it.
Well, and see, that's where Holiday stuck out from everywhere else, because with their inline system that they're using, yes, if you don't have a cell phone, it is a little tricky, but I mean, this day and age, everybody has one. But on some days, they are only using it on certain rides. I mean, the water park doesn't even really use it unless it's extremely busy. I mean, the major coasters are on it, but while you're waiting for those coasters, you're still able to go do small rides, which are great. But I think that's one way Holiday World has stuck out. And I think if Cedar Point or Kings Island would adapt something like that, well, definitely Cedar Point would be able to get rid of the access cards for sure.
Yeah, I think virtual lines should have been implemented in more parks. But I think it's the cost factor of it. Holiday World, it was willing, forfeiture the costs on that. So bravo to them on that. And the parks that didn't need it. Obviously, Disney and Universal don't need something like that. Really. I mean, Universal's got the Express Pass, but Disney doesn't even have their Fast Pass right now. But their crowd levels are like 15% of normal capacity. But Cedar Point, a lot of people don't understand. I don't know what Cedar Point's capacity is. If somebody could comment below and let us know that, because I'm a little confused on that. Yeah, virtual lines, I agree. I haven't been back to maybe 4 coasters. Yeah, 4 coasters on for us when being in the Indianapolis area, or Dustin over in Monticello and Stacy over in Illinois. It's like 4.5 hours to go drive to a park. And if you're only riding 5 coasters for the whole day, what is the point of that? To me, there's not a point of that. And that's the reason I've only been to Kings Island 3 times, and that was to get, a review of Orion. Was the fact that, they only did access pass on Orion, so I give them props on that, and their operating procedures was a lot faster. We're going off subject here, but all in general, cleaning has been really. He wants to join in the show too. Overall cleaning, okay, 50%. Yeah, 50% at Cedar Point though is like 40,000 people. I think though. I think their total park capacity, I believe, is 80,000 because Kings Island, I think, is 50. Cedar Point's slightly bigger than Kings Island, so I believe it's right around that number. I think it's 65 to like 80,000. So that's still a lot of people in a park. And then you just told people they can't buy daily fast passes or fast lanes at Kings Island's allowing it now. Just to let you guys know. Well, they're only open on the weekends now. Cedar Point was not allowing it. That was Tony Clark's decision, which I think was a bad decision because if people want to pay that extra cost, let them pay that extra cost. I could understand the first couple weeks when they were opening up the park and saying, okay, we need to get our employees adjusted to it. But in my opinion, they should have kept the pass holders, started off with platinum, let the platinum pass holders into the park for the first like 3 days, kind of like what Holiday World did. Holiday World started off with platinum, regular, and then whatever the summer passes. They kind of get their crew adjusted to it, used to the crowds, cleaning techniques, and it kind of started off from a low crowd all the way to a larger crowd. I think if more parks would have done something like that, I know Universal introduced something like that, Disney introduced something like that, I believe Silver Dollar City. So a lot of these different parks kind of did something like that. I think Six Flags parks had a little bit of like that, but it helps get the employees adjusted to it. That's why a lot of the seasonal parks kind of open up a little earlier, is because they know the crowds are going to be lower. And then progressively as the year goes on, as kids get out of school and as more families go on vacation, by that time the crews are adjusted and ready for those bigger crowds. Our next thing is riding the rides. So riding coasters and rides, that varies from park to park. Like we were discussing, some parks are requiring social distancing on rides, which I think is totally stupid, especially if you have a mask on and you are sitting 6 feet apart from the row in front of you. Point and blank, Orion's a good example. They fill the outside rows. Okay, no, the first row's inside, second row's outside. So they don't social distance per row. But let's say you have a group that's 4 people. Your group cannot sit together on the same row. You have to sit inside and then outside on row 2. And it's totally defeats the purpose of it. Then you go over to Holiday World. Like we discussed, let's say you have 6 people on the voyage. Rows 1 through 3 are all going to be your group and then separated by a separate row. That way your group's together. And then some parks just don't implement it at all. So
I would say Silver Dollar City has probably been, when it comes to getting able to ride the rides, has probably been the best by far so far this season. But when something new that they're doing this year is, if you have a season pass with them, you can add on a Trailblazer pass, which is like their version of Fastlane, and not that many people have it there. So I mean, we were able to ride Time Traveler almost 14 times in one day while we were there. And then I would probably have to say my second favorite park this year had been Holiday World. Yeah, their inline system, they did have some tweaks with it here and there from the start of the season to now, but it's been the most well organized when it comes to being able to ride the rides and their system on how they get people in and out.
I agree on that inline system. Badger State Coasters, how you doing? Nice to talk to you. I know you're going to stay here for a second, so hope to see you back here. Then Drake said another downside at Cedar Point, only loading rides at 50% occupancy with social distancing all in place out of the lines and rides. Yeah, and everybody remembers, I have not been to Cedar Point this year, but in my opinion, The loading procedures of Steel Vengeance have been a disaster from the beginning. The mid-course brake run did not work. RMC did not work out the kinks out of it. So most of the time they're operating 2 trains. Everybody knows Cedar Point is extremely busy. But imagine, what does it seat on there, Jacob? What is it, 24 or is it 32 for that coaster? I don't even remember.
I think it's 12 rows.
50% capacity. And you're looking at what, like 12 people per ride. And we all know RMCs are extremely slow to loading because of their restraints that are extremely heavy. I think RMC,
so good.
RMCs are still really good. I still think they need to work out the kinks out of their sensor system though, because their sensors I think are a little too overly dramatic. Because some of them in some parks allow for Silver Dollar City. Some of them in some parks don't require them to push down as much. Because myself being taller and a little bit bigger, not as skinny as you, so it's they kind of shove it down on your legs, and then it kind of ruins the ride experience. But riding coasters and rides hasn't really changed at all. The only thing I kind of disagree with on is that the funniest coaster I've been on this season is probably Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast, and they want you to keep your mask on, but you're launched backwards. How are you supposed to keep your mask on when you're launched backwards? The air blows your mask out. So that was kind of a funny one.
And Annika had her issue keeping her mask on when it came to the powdered keg ride at Silver Dollar City. Every time that thing launched, her mask just went and covered her eyes.
Yeah, and in general, I've noticed the blue procedure masks kind of stay on better than face coverings that people kind of make at home, just in general. But I know with riding coasters and stuff, so these parks have to understand there's a time where it's legitimate that people are legitimately taking their mask down to take pictures, but if the mask falls off when you're on a ride that goes 91 miles an hour or Top Thrill Dragster, which is 120, sometimes it's going to slip down a little bit. I think it's a little ridiculous that they're not letting people grab pictures. Enjoy your weekend too. I think it's a little ridiculous that people are being told they can't have their picture because their mask goes down off their nose a little bit. But
Silver Dollar City wasn't like that.
And no, they weren't.
I don't think Holiday World was either. But one thing that was nice about Silver Dollar City, let's say you're riding a ride and your mask goes flying off. Their ride operators there had a box of them, so that way if you lost yours, they could hand you another one, so that way you had another mask and you didn't have to go buy one, or if you wanted to go purchase a nicer one later, they were just giving you a blue surgical mask. But if you wanted to purchase a nicer one later at the park, you were able to.
Yeah, and we'll go over that in just a second here. But yeah, I noticed all parks were handing out, I think, blue masks. The only one, which we'll talk about when we deal with customer service, is the busiest theme park in the world. And we'll go into discussion why that happened to be my worst theme park visit of the year. And I think I visited, hold on. So far, I've got 12 new parks this year, believe it or not. And I think I visited like 16 parks this year in total. Out of 16 parks, it was my worst visit out of all the ones that I went to. So if that tells you guys anything. The Pennsylvania parks, Knoebels was kind of confusing, so we're not going to go over that in general. They kind of introduced a new policy, kind of confused the ride operators and just in general, the general park staff. So I think the first half of the morning, everybody was wearing their masks. The second half of the day, everybody had them off, and then they released a statement on their social media later that night saying that everyone had to wear it. There was a little mass confusion on their opening day. Hershey Park was pretty in general on that, but they weren't really like, enforcing it hardcore or anything like that. So as long as you had your mask on, they kind of left you alone. Rides in general have kind of stayed the same. Sorry. trains they're social distancing on. Kings Island has kind of a crazy contraption right now where, what is it called? Cypher, whatever it's called. I don't remember how to pronounce that. They have half the swings off of it. So half the swings are off of it, and they're social distance swings without you having to actually social distance. So that's kind of funny. And then, yeah, pretty much it's just one row apart. The only exceptions for that were a couple different parks that didn't really care about it. Riding coasters hasn't really changed at all. I mean, unless you consider wearing a mask a big change, but to me, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. It's worse when it's hotter out. I think when the weather cools down a little more, I think people care less about it. In the summertime, riding rides and coasters with it, you kind of get that extra effect of it. I think parks in general should offer more relaxed stations. I could think of a couple that really did a good job on it. Universal's really good at it.
That was one downfall for Silver Dollar City. We only saw one the entire time while we were there.
But they kind of left you alone there, though. Like if you were like socially distanced from somebody and you took off your mask away from somebody for a couple minutes, they weren't hounding you about it. It was only if you were like next to people and they were like, "Hey, put your mask on." Whereas, other parks it was totally different. I'm trying to think. Coaster. A lot of parks are kind of setting reminders. You hear them over the announcements. Please keep your mask on during the whole ride.
Every time a train left the station at Silver Dollar City.
I think a couple of times they actually stopped the ride until they put their mask back on. I can't remember what park that was at, but what else? I guess they're trying to. I mean, I guess they're trying to do the best that they can, but I think if the rows are 6 feet apart, there's no purpose of having a mask and socially distant. I think they're kind of just double ducking things, but like I said on Orion, it made no sense. Why are you going to have inside rows seated, outside rows, inside rows, outside rows? So I don't know whose plan that was. I imagine Cedar Point might have been the same. Six Flags didn't do that. Sit down and the floorless B&Ms, they were 6 feet apart. The wing coasters were 6 feet apart, so they just left it be. You did say Silver Dollar City on what was the name of that? Wildfire? I think Wildfire.
They sat every other row while we were there that day, unless you were in a group. But you could sit 4 across if you had a group of 4. You didn't have to go 2, 2, 2, 2. You were able to sit 4 across.
Or maybe they aren't 6 feet. Maybe they're like 4.5 feet. So maybe that's why. I know the wing coasters are 6 feet apart. That's why they haven't changed.
It could have also just depended on the crew working that day. Maybe that's just how that crew runs compared to a different crew. Never know.
I know that riding coasters on the faster ones with a mask on felt better than the slower ones. So like the Giga coasters, which there's not many open, unfortunately. I think Millennium Force and Orion are the only 2 open right now. Yep, those are the only 2 coasters open right now. Because we all know that King's Dominion, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg opened because the state has some crazy policy, so they only limited it to 2,000 guests and a paid event. King's Dominion's obviously closed for the season. That's another thing we forgot to talk about in here, but it sucks that some parks weren't able to open because of state guidelines, even though they did everything that they could to ensure that everybody was going to be safe. For some reason, people think that amusement parks are the places where this is going to spread. I highly disagree on it from what I've seen. Yeah, you have a couple people that kind of like meander around and get close to you. For the most part, though, you're in open air. People are socially distancing. I didn't see anybody like trying to cough on anybody or trying to do anything crazy. People were pretty much following by the rules. I saw worse crowds not following by the rules, not at the smaller parks. I saw people following it more so better at like Holiday World, Indiana Beach, Mount Olympus, places like that than, Six Flags, Cedar Fair parks, and Disney. Well, Disney Disney's Disney, but pretty much I think that the parks have done what they need to do, and I think that they had good policies and procedures set up in place. They were ready for everything. The temperature checks, and what else? I mean, every park's different, so you guys can't expect the procedures and policies to be the same at one park to another. I know I see a lot of comments on. I would see a lot of comments like if we posted something about Indiana Beach or Holiday World or this park or that park, you would see, well, at this park they did this. That's because every park's different.
Every park was
Yeah.
different according to the state guidelines. I know Pennsylvania and Missouri both, before you entered the park, you got your temperature check. I know here at Indiana Beach you did? Question mark.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you got temperature check there, but at Holiday World you did not. The employees got temperature checked, but not you as a guest.
And it's kind of, I wish people would weigh in on here. So, what's been your guys' best experience and worst experience riding coasters during this whole pandemic? I don't know. I see people. We're at 36 minutes. This is a 60-minute live show. We're going to do 2 of these a week now. So let's see. We got 6 watchers on. I don't know where that's from. Facebook, maybe? I don't know how many are on YouTube right now. I haven't even ventured to guess on that one. It doesn't show me stats for both of them, unfortunately. But what's been your worst and best experience at a park during this pandemic? We're going to go into customer service here in a second. I think pretty much we could all agree that it's funny. Nobody ever wants to talk. It's like it's on social media. All you got to do is type.
Well, I think our best experience by far this season when it comes to customer service was Silver Dollar City and Holiday World. They both tied. I mean, they were both great. They both went above and beyond for their guests. If they felt like you had one bad experience, they tried to do everything in their power to try to make it right, and plus do a little more.
Yeah, I noticed that at the same places. Oh, that could be the reason why. I was viewing over here, so it looks like we only have. I imagine it changes as the day goes on. People are weird when it comes to live feeds and stuff like that, but I guess we have a slight delay. So we're broadcasting from the studio, and we're thinking it's an immediate reaction. I guess there's like a 5-second delay on this. So, so best and worst experience. Let's go in. I guess we go in customer service, and then we'll just talk in general about different things. We're going to talk about Holiwood Nights, since we're going to be there next week. That's a long discussion. We're going to have actually another live feed just talking about Holiwood Nights and leading up to it next week. But customer service. So I'll let Jacob lead into this, and then because mine's a little bit longer of a scenario. Let's just talk about a good and bad experience.
Well, I mean, to be honest, the only bad experience that Annika and I have had at a park with customer service was, unfortunately, at Hershey Park, and it was involving you and the stain on your shirt from their sanitizer that they put on their trains, and we never heard back from them on it. But granted, I know they're a busy park. I mean, they're Hershey. So, but I mean, when it comes to the best service, to us, Holiday World and Silver Dollar City both tied, because if you had a small issue, they wanted to correct it immediately. If it was just something from where your food didn't taste right to where you're waiting for a ride and the ride went down, they would sit there and give everybody in station and line a free pass to come back to skip the line at Silver Dollar City. So, I mean, they just seemed like if you had an issue at that park, they would go above and beyond and plus do a little bit more for you to make your day better.
Yeah, and that kind of bothers me is when companies don't follow up on customer service. So they said they're going to do a follow up, and like you said, never heard anything back. I get to the point where I get sick and tired of following up with people nowadays. I think companies need to do a better job in customer service. Holiday World has always answered us in terms of anytime we have a question. Actually, Hershey Park, their PR director is really good because anytime I had a question when we had the event coming up, they answered it. So I guess it's a totally different department that handles that, obviously.
Yeah.
Indiana Beach is under new management, so we're on their media list and so forth and such like that. But I know they're new owners. They're trying to get used to everything. I don't think they have a legitimately PR director yet. I know over there, Tom is kind of handling everything at the moment, but I'm pretty sure things are going to change in the off season. I don't know why I'm going off subject on that, but different parks. Six Flags has a weird way of answering things. Actually, Six Flags was really good. I didn't share many of you guys' story or anything like that, but Great Adventure. Okay, so the problem I have is not with the park itself. The customer service was great at Six Flags Great Adventure. Six Flags St. Louis. It's not that. It's the general public that they bring into their parks. So I had an incident where I didn't notice it right away, but um, basically I had my driver's license and debit card stolen out of my pocket. Somehow, some way, it happened. But Six Flags has a great service, so you're able to report a lost or stolen item on an online website. Also, I contacted their lost and found like 3 times. They answered right away. They answered any questions. Very nice. Never had any issues at all. So I inputted all my information on there. They contacted me right away when both of my things were found, and they shipped them right out to me right away. No questions asked. Great customer service. So I can't say that Six Flags is what people think it is. I think the public makes the conception that the policies and procedures that the corporation carries are worse than what they are. I think because, okay, so Cedar Fair is really smart on where they place theirs at. Cedar Point's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I know Sandusky is a city with like 50,000 people. That's still in the middle of nowhere. Six Flags is in more major metropolitan areas, so you're going to attract worse visitors than you are for some of these other parks. So, like, you look at Magic Mountain, LA. You look at Six Flags Great Adventure, New York City. You look at Six Flags Great America, Chicago. So you look at all these different parks, and Six Flags seems to be near metropolitan areas. So they're going to, most of the time, have worse issues than. Hey, Austin, we'll have you join in one of our videos here soon too. Yeah, but I don't think Six Flags is as bad as people make it out to be. I've not had any problems with any of the employees this year. The employees have been outstanding. Uh, Holiday World, Indiana Beach employees, Mount Olympus. I don't know. I didn't. It was Universal employees. 2 thumbs up, man. Universal employees, happy-go-lucky, dancing, getting everybody into it, having a great time. It seems like the company treats people better than Disney, and that I'll get in that in here in a second. Fun spot. They're always clapping, make sure you have a good ride experience. Hershey Park. As many of you guys know, we got the last ride of the night on Sky Rush when we were there. They let us stay on 3 rides in a row. Great customer service. The problem has not really, I don't know. I think customer service is actually better this year than last year in a lot of parks. Except, okay, so what was the one thing I was going to say? I can't. The only park I have anything bad to say about during this is actually Disney. So last Monday, everybody knows how expensive Disney is to begin with. But so the problem I have is that they're nickel and diming everybody, and I'm not bad talking anybody, but they're nickel and diming everybody. So we have a 2-year-old daughter. We all know masks kind of don't fit 2-year-olds as well. Obviously, all the parks know this because we've been in there. So she takes off her mask and her slides down. They're not like on top of you nonstop. Disney, before you could even enter the park, they have to make sure that even a 2-year-old is wearing their mask properly on their face, which is fine. But the way they did it, they basically look over at me because I had my fiance behind me, and she was, scanning her ticket through. So I pushed the stroller forward, and the lady was like, "You can't move any further than right here until I can see that mask is on her face." And I was like, "Okay, that's kind of odd. That's kind of a weird way to, put it or say it at people." But what I thought was weird is that they don't. Okay, every other park, because many of you know that sometimes the masks get wet. If a mask gets wet, you're supposed to throw it away. So Disney doesn't offer masks; they offer face coverage, $6 a piece. If you want a blue mask, they have them out of a vending machine. They have Advent Health sponsoring their temperature check and whatever their questionnaire area. Every other park had kids masks, blue masks available because they are hard to find, and they had adult masks. Disney did not have any kids blue masks in that vending machine. They were $2 a piece. So we had to, makeshift it. This was going into Disney Springs. We had to makeshift it, and the mask broke. They wouldn't provide a new one. So they have these adult masks in there. So they want these kids to have masks on them. They have a vending machine, but they don't have any kids masks available. $2 a piece. You know what a box of masks costs right now? $20 for a box of 50. Every other park, okay, so we go into Volcano Bay. They know that your mask is going to probably get wet, even though you're not required to wear it in the park. You are required to wear it as you're walking through. They understand your mask might get wet. So if your mask get wet, they give you a replacement one. No questions asked. They understand these masks are a quarter a piece. Disney, on the other hand, $2 a piece. But that wasn't even our worst experience of there. So they have a mobile food order line, and then they have a regular line. Well, I was waiting on her food. She was going to find a table. And the whole staff there was being rude. They wouldn't let her in to go sit down outside and places like that. They kept on directing her the wrong places. Instead of, this is my only experience at Disney that I've ever had that has been bad. But this experience at Disney made me go, okay, we're down here now, but we won't be back until, this whole virus basically gone away, because the customer service was that bad. And I'm not going to bash them heavily on it, but it was kind of uncharacteristic of a park that charges $136 a ticket for one day to make such a big deal out of masks and not provide any replacement masks. You're required to pay extra money on top of that. And on top of that, only half the restaurants were open in the park. There's no shows anymore. And they keep on blaming it on staffing issues, but they sent the whole college program home. So my major issue on that is I have an annual membership over to Universal, and I see how Universal's handling it. They moved some of their shows outside, and they have their shows inside, and they socially distant everything. They have a person waiting on the outside, marking how big's in your group, and then they have people directing you which rows to go in when you go into the show. They still have character meet and greets. They're socially distant greets, but they're out there. But I don't know. And I know some other people around this area also have a bad taste in their mouth. That's why they're seeing record. This is the whole point of this. If your customer service is bad and people see this, they're probably not going to go back to the park. And I think that's why Disney is experiencing huge drops in attendance. I don't really think it's due to the park experience. I think it's the rude customer service, as we're talking about right here. And if I go into a park, even with having to wear a mask, being hot, and the staff's all jumping up and down and making me laugh and have a good time, I forget everything that has to do with COVID. And I think a lot of other parks have done a great job of that. but Disney, everybody's so angry, and I don't understand why. I understand it's hot down here in Orlando. I understand that 110%, but that's no need to be rude to people coming into the park. But that's the only bad experience I've had this whole season. I've had a couple, a couple of run-ins with ride operators a couple times that were, rude, but it wasn't to the point of like stuck with me throughout the whole day. I would say, in order for a lot of these companies to bring in more people, you have to have good customer service during this pandemic. So, like I said, the difference between Universal and Disney and FunSpot and SeaWorld, what is there, 7 parks around here? And the worst one's Disney now. They're offering Florida residents 4 days for $200. That's how bad it's gotten. They can't bring anybody in. And then I'm a pass holder for Universal, not Disney, but they're not even allowing pass holders into the parks. They're only allowing certain reservations. They're not opening up more if they're not taken. So a lot of pass holders are talking about canceling as well. So remember that if your parks aren't taking care of you during this pandemic, you have every right to cancel your membership on them. Because in the terms of use, I think it says something along the lines of they have to provide the service a certain way or something like that. So what was I going to say? Cedar Fair, this season's a wash, but they offered 2021 for free. So when you look into it, we're getting 2021 and 2020 there. Silver Dollar City, me and Jacob and Annika all got memberships there. Trailblazer this season, but we're able to get in this season and next season for the price of one season. So a lot of parks have done a great job on there. Universal, the 3 months that they weren't open, I got a 3-month extension on the membership there. Other parks have done the same thing. Six Flags did the same thing. All these parks have done a great job. Now, one thing we didn't talk about, how is COVID going to affect, and we'll talk about this without the banner being on here, but how is COVID going to affect future ride developments and additions in parks? I think we don't know yet. We do know that some of the smaller parks have actually done okay. We think Holiday World's probably going to be fine. Indiana Beach is probably going to be fine. But some of these other parks, I think, with Disney's record low attendance and stuff like that, I think they're going to have issues even with their 50th anniversary next year. I think they're looking at huge. Tron isn't even moving really as much as they were hoping. Universal already had to delay Epic Universe a year. That's all we know so far. They don't know what kind of losses they're going to have to recoup off of that. Luckily, their new coaster is still going at full speed. Six Flags parks have delayed all their attractions till 2021. That includes Jersey Devil, the flat rides, and so forth. Cedar Fair, they haven't made any 2021 announcements yet.
Other than
Parks
Cedar
2021.
Other than Cedar Point's 150th and the River Expedition being postponed until next year.
Yeah, but that makes sense. But I think we're seeing possible delays, 2 years possibly, because these are huge losses. These pieces are grabbing off of this virus. I did hear something pretty interesting. So there's this rumor in the guy. I'm not going to say anything other than that. But there are rumors going around that we might possibly be looking at some of these roller coaster editions being delayed 2 to 3 years. I think 6. So we're looking at 2023. That's if things rebound the way they want them to. We already know that these huge losses. I think I hate talking about Disney all those times, but I know Disney in general. What was their second quarter alone? Yeah, their second quarter, I think they lost $3 billion for their parks. That's a lot of money. Comcast, who owns Universal, basically stated they lost about close to like 800 million or something like that. And luckily, the Chinese parks are opening back up. I know some of you hate China or whatever, but we're not talking about that. This isn't a political show or anything like that. But over in China, the parks in Beijing and places like that are all opening back up, which, you know, Disney and Universal and other parks, other places have huge investments into it. The parks in Japan, Hong Kong, places that are starting to recover are starting to see huge gains now. So that's a positive sign of what we could see possibly in the United States when all this starts subsiding. I think we're going to see huge changes. I think you might see some season passes go up in price to make up and compensate for the lost income this year. I don't know. We had a coaster war going on too. That's what's crazy about this whole thing. This coaster war was starting again, like that one we saw in the early 2000s. It was starting up again. I guess one thing positive that came out of this year so far, what would you say? Park being saved, getting an extra year added on our passes, extra rides because the park's empty some places. So
I've also enjoyed not having to wait in line with the places that have virtual queuing. I mean, I think it's great that we can sit there and book a ride and go ride flat rides and nice little relaxing rides while we wait for the big ride. So I think that's been one nice thing. I know at Holiday World, what people would do is they would book a ride, go hang out in the wave pool or the lazy river until it got close to time. Then they would go dry off and put their shoes on and shirt on and would go to the dry park, get their ride, and book the next ride and go back to the water park and hang out.
Yeah, that is one thing they've done good. That's why I said I know in general. So I've been told. Okay, I can't name any source, but so I've been told last year Apex owned Indiana Beach. Supposedly they posted a good profit. So with the new owners being in place and seeing the positivity coming out of Indiana Beach with the Staples family owning it, seeing the additions and the rumors coming about new rides, attractions, and coasters possibly coming to Indiana Beach in the future, I think they're doing well as well. I think the Indiana parks are safe. I don't think anything's going to happen to them. I think Indiana Beach is going to thrive. I think Holiday World's going to continue to thrive. I don't think Holiday World's really being affected as much by this because you had Kings Island. So Indiana didn't really have a huge mask mandate, which I think benefited the parks a little bit. So like a lot of people that didn't want to go to Kings Island because they had the 2021 passes went over to Holiday World, or if they didn't want to go down to Kentucky Kingdom, they went up to Holiday World. Great America was shut down, so many of those people went over to Indiana Beach or other parks. So those two parks I've never seen enthusiasts visit both of these parks as much as I have this season. Like we're talking to other vloggers and Instagrammers. I've seen a lot of their stories where they focused on these two parks, primarily Holiday World. Holiday World has got so much attention this year. It's crazy because I've only seen people visit it during Hollywood Nights, and now they're, well, heck, a couple of them visited during, like we're talking, 4 or 5 times. These are people that live in Oklahoma, out in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and they're just coming down just to ride the voyage. I've seen Kentucky Kingdom get pretty good, but I don't know what's going on down there because I don't know the news as much coming out of that place. From my visit last Saturday, though, they seem to be handling it well. They're actually operating 2 trains now at all times. So actually, the operations to me were faster. As many of you know, people hang out in the water park most of the day, so I hung out in the amusement park section and marathoned all the coasters all day. So I actually had a good experience down there. But I think a lot of people, or I think a lot of these parks, Six Flags, SeaWorld, and I think Cedar Fair is safe. They already said they're safe. But I think Six Flags and SeaWorld, we might see some cuts. We might see some parks. SeaWorld probably won't get rid of their park. I think Six Flags might let go of maybe 2 of their parks. There's a couple of their parks that have been barely holding on by a thread. But I guess time will tell on that because we have the third quarter results coming up. probably in October, and we'll find out kind of what the differences in income were. Six Flags owns what more? Would you would say Six Flags and Cedar Fair own more seasonal parks and annual parks, so probably not as big of a loss per se as SeaWorld. SeaWorld has more annual parks. You got SeaWorld Orlando. SeaWorld at San Antonio is only closed, 3 months out of the year, so we'll consider that an annual park. So Busch Gardens Tampa, SeaWorld Orlando, SeaWorld San Diego. So they're only two seasonal parks is what? Williamsburg. Yeah, Williamsburg and San Antonio, if you even count that. So I think SeaWorld might see a bigger difference from last year's income than obviously the other parks will. I don't know. Third quarter is going to be kind of where we're going to see what might happen for a lot of these parks in the upcoming years. I don't think 2021 sees many additions. I think whatever was supposed to open this year gets open next year, and I don't think we see any parks offer any new thing. I think Holiday World and Indiana Beach definitely. I think those two parks in Indiana are going to be stating something big is coming or something minor is coming. It's going to be an addition to those two parks, definitely. Kings Island won't see anything until 2023, probably. We all know every 3 to 4 years they get a new coaster or a new park addition. So I think that park doesn't see anything next year. Everybody seems to think that Vortex site is going to have something happen over there. I personally think that's going to turn into kind of a family area or a new themed area. I don't think a new coaster is going to go over there. I just have a feeling a coaster that costs $32 million and in Orion, I think Kings Island probably won't get a new one until like what, 20, what do you think, 2024, 2025, probably 4 or 5 years, I would say.
Maybe 3 if it rebounds nice. If they are doing okay with the COVID, if they rebound nicely after this.
I think Cedar Point's going to need something. They're going to need a new people eater because Steel Vengeance is not what they wanted it to be, from what I understand. Steel Vengeance is not a people eater. The reason why they did, 3 trains originally was because they thought it was going to be a people eater, and then that turned into being slow operation. It's a great coaster. That's not what we're talking about here, but it's not a people eater. Maverick's not a people eater. They need a people eater there. Even Millennium Force really isn't, because they operate the way the brake run was set up on there. The final brake run doesn't allow them to dispatch as many trains. So they need to look into something that's a huge people eater. And I think we're going to see a GCI over at Cedar Point. I really do.
That would be nice.
Yeah, because GCIs have less problems with them. They could probably dispatch 3 trains, no problem. Just make it long enough where they have a mid-course brake run. Yeah, I think we'll see something like that, or a new B&M, because we all know B&Ms are people eater. People don't like B&Ms like they used to, but if you look at Valraven's a people eater. 36 people in each train. They could continuously push through that line like no other. And I think they're going to have to look for something like that, because like I said, Steel Vengeance was not what they thought it was going to be. That's another thing. I think Orion was not built as long as people were hoping, because it's a people eater. They could push 32 people per train, but when I was there, they were pushing 30-second dispatches out. So during COVID, they're pushing 30-second dispatches out. The longest I waited in line was 25 minutes. That's with COVID going on. So that's something Cedar Point needs to look into. And I know other parks love B&Ms because they're people eaters. They might not be the most extreme coasters, but those restraint systems make it so easy to. I think that's another reason why we see possibly a B&M before maybe a wooden coasters, because like you stated with, well, maybe I stated it, where Steel Vengeance has the issues with the restraints. But I don't know.
Silver Dollar City's pretty quick with Outlaw Run, though. But at the same time, at Outlaw Run, you're able to pull down your own restraints. The employees don't have to push it down.
Yeah, which is nice. I think some parks did that because they weren't able to see if the seatbelts were fastened or not, which we all know the double standard on that was because a lady died on. This was a long time ago, where I don't freak out or anything. But back when the new Texas Giant opened up, they had a problem with one of the restraints. So instead of RMC saying it was an operations problem, they did a double standard and said we're going to add seatbelts and more sensors and make the restraints harder to push up, basically, than what they were before. So then you had the new. That's the thing about the amusement park industry, is that they learn from their past mistakes and sometimes they suck. And I think RMC, the one thing that I've said over and over again is that those trains have way too many sensors on them and they're so problematic. That's why it takes 2 minutes to dispatch out a train on a lot of those RMCs. But you could thank New Texas Giant and the ride operators over at Six Flags Over Texas for causing that issue in the future for RMC. And Greg Thorpe thinks that the Vortex will be an interactive family land. I think that's true. Those restraints were made by Gerschlager. Okay, I think I heard about that before. Interesting. So RMC just makes everything in house now, kind of like B&M.
That's why they're really good, though. Yeah, they may take a while to load out, but I mean, it's rare for us to go to a park and not say the RMC is our favorite ride there. Well, at least for me.
Yeah, or Intamin, or in the case of Silver Dollar City, Mac. But we don't see many Mac rides in the United States, so.
Well, I mean, that surprised you when I said Time Traveler was better than the RMC there, Outlaw Run. I mean, yeah, it's a very old RMC, but it's still one of my favorite RMCs just because of that ending. That is one of the best endings on an RMC, I think, in my opinion. But Time Traveler is just a whole nother topic, out of this world ride. You'll probably never see anything like it. Yeah, you'll see other spinning Mac Extreme spinning coasters, but you won't see another one designed like Time Traveler.
Yeah, not the 90-degree drop out of station and I don't know what took me 2 years to ride that coaster. You're like, man, I wish this park was closer so I could ride this all the time.
Oh, I'm going back a few more times before the end of the season.
Yeah, that park is a gem in itself, and I don't know how Dollywood gets more attention than that park. Let's just put it that way. Because the coasters, even the mediocre coaster, which I guess we could both agree that Wildfire is probably the
my least favorite there.
Even Fire in the Hole was fun, and that's
my god, Fire in the Hole is my top dark ride now.
But yeah, and then the uniqueness of the what power swing restraint for a coaster on Powder Keg, that was kind of different. So
I also like how their shooting ride is a boat ride.
Or what?
One of their inside dark rides, their shooting ride is a boat ride also.
Oh, okay. So I think I don't think the viewer count is correct on YouTube. I was just looking at this. I'm looking at the comment. There's a new one. Carl's. Oh, I didn't know my laptop was touchscreen. There's a comment right there. I guess if I highlight the comments, we could read them on screen. So Carl Strom said, didn't have too many issues with the parks, but Bay Beach had a problem where the tickets and wristbands were sold in the same shop, so you couldn't get new tickets without waiting in a very long line. Yeah.
Oh, that would drive me crazy. Drive me absolutely crazy.
What do you guys think about this comment that Greg Thorpe said? Vortex being an interactive family land. Possibility.
That would be a possibility, but I would like to see a whole new themed area. Maybe something like what Dollywood did would be fun.
Yeah, I think the kids area is great with like Camp Snippy, but they haven't really done any huge upgrades to that area in a while, so we'll see what happens on that. I think Cedar Fair parks are trying to become more family friendly than coaster enthusiast friendly, and I know we got to kind of start pushing towards ending this show here soon, so we're probably going to get into Holiwood Nights here in just a second. But yeah, I think that what were we saying? What were we talking about here? I don't even remember what I was just talking about. Yeah, the Vortex area. Yeah, I think, or I know they kind of are building a relationship with Mac as well, so maybe we see a Mac over at, since that wouldn't be a direct competition with Cedar Point. Who knows?
I mean, the only thing we never really talked about was the one coaster we know that's still going to be that's going on as planned, and that hasn't had any delays, which really wasn't even announced to this year, is the new coaster going in at Kentucky Kingdom.
Yeah, the RMC Raptor, which I think I did a video on that one. Yeah, the last update video I did. If you guys look, you'll see the area. It's very small, so I think we're looking at a clone or maybe something possibly a little smaller than a clone. I don't know.
Well, it can wrap around and go into Storm Chaser's area. That's true. That is land that it can utilize, and plus, Eye of the Storm's just right there to the left of it. It can zoom by behind Eye of the Storm.
Yeah, that's true too. Or they could just remove it. Actually, I think they can. I think they can move Eye of the Storm if they need to, anyways.
Well, it's built into the ground. It's built into the ground.
Yeah,
they would have to redo the whole ground for it in like they did over there.
And they don't have too many other areas either. Well, I guess we'll get into Holiwood Nights. So our whole team's going to be at Holiwood Nights. It's going to be a busy weekend. So we hope to see many of you guys there at Holiwood Nights. We're going to see many enthusiasts there. Friday starts it all. We've got some bids out there. We're hoping that we win it. We're not going to discuss what they are because we don't want to be outbidded on them, but we have some bids that we wanted to do so we can get exclusive coverage for you guys. Friday, 3:30 p.m., we will be at the park. It's going to be a long day Friday, long day Saturday, but we know it's going to be totally worth it. We've heard a lot about this event. I don't know what took me. It started in 2000. I don't know what took me 20 years to get to this event. It used to be called Mad Raven something or something like that. I forget what was the original name of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Raven event, and we all know the history on that. They had some issues in 2003 with it, so they didn't have it for 3 years, and then they started it back up again, and now it's called Holiwood Nights. So they have a bunch of things planned. I think Friday night. Let me see if I can find that schedule.
Well, if I can remember correctly, I know Friday night the day will start off with some exclusive content, and then afterwards the park is only open to us that night. I know we're going to get exclusive time in Cheetah Chase and in the water park. Oh, we got an answer to the Holiwood Nights name.
Stark Raven Mad. Thank you, Carl.
But I know we're going to have some great exclusive time in the water park. Later in the evening, we're going to get some great exclusive time in the dry park. And then early in the day, we are taking a part of, I think, the Coasting for Kids event. So we'll be there bright and early, 8 a.m., I believe, is when we're supposed to be there Central Time. And then the park.
We'll see how we recover after the night before.
And then Holiwood Nights will start back up during the day, and we'll get to do the track walk and around Voyage and things like that. And of course, we'll end the night with some great trimless dark night rides on everybody's number one wooden coaster for the most part, Voyage.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it might change to my number one after that night ride. We'll see what happens on that. I know a lot of people said it's an eye-opening experience.
I've heard it's a completely different coaster at night.
Well, they said, a lot of people say it's pitch black, and then when you hit that mid-course kind of slow down, there is.
Dustin, how are you falling asleep at 1:30 in the afternoon?
He must have had a long week. So here's the tentative Friday schedule. It looks like the welcome ceremony is at 5 p.m. Central. Splash and Safari ERT at Cheetah Chase, Mammoth, Wildebeest, and Bahari Wave, 5 to 7:15.
which for anybody going, I want to give you guys a heads up. If you haven't been this year, before you go to get on Mammoth, make sure you have enough to make the weight limit. If you go out there by yourself and try to ride Mammoth, they won't let you ride with anybody else due to COVID. You got to make sure you have enough people to make the weight limit in your group before even getting in line. They'll probably stop you right at the entrance saying, hey, you have to have your full group with you because you won't make the weight limit. And due to COVID, they won't let you join other groups.
Yeah, which totally makes sense, even though, yeah. So, yeah, that's the tentative beginning schedule on that, as Jacob was talking about the weight limitations on that. I guess dinner's being provided. I didn't know dinner was being provided. Do we have to pay for the dinner? Well, that's nice. I mean, this ticket pays for itself then. 6:30 through 7:15 is Gobbler Getaway ERT. Oh boy.
I love. Hey! Don't make fun of Gobbler Getaway. It's a great ride.
That's one of the cheesiest dark rides I've ever been on. But yeah, that's.
But how often do you ride a dark ride when everything always works?
That's true. Yeah, the sensors do always work on it. Splash and Safari ERT ends extremely early, 7:15. Holiday World, let's extend that to 8 p.m.
Well, keep in mind that's really 8:15 p.m. time, and if it's only going to be like 70, 80 degrees, that water is going to be ice cold.
That's true. I forget.
Shut up, Florida boy.
After dealing, yeah. And the water's kind of cold in Volcano Bay as well. So then 7:30 to 9, dinner. 7:30 to 8:10, Turkey Whirl, and these ERTs are kind of funny. 7:30 to 8:10, Turkey Whirl and Hollow Swings ERT. So I'm guessing a lot of the ERT has to do in the Thanksgiving area that night. Mayflower and Hollow Swings ERT is after that. And I thought they were doing. Oh, there it is. So then you have the other 3 coasters or other 4 coasters that are open as well for ERT besides those attractions. So
yeah,
Legend, Voyage, and Thunderbird, and that'll run from 6:30 to 10 p.m. So that's plenty of time.
Yeah, which, just so everybody knows, anybody that's been checking the tentative schedule, there was a misprint for the last few days, but they did finally get that fixed.
What was the misprint?
Oh, originally the misprint, they had no coaster ride time. They did, and then it got removed, and then they put it back for Friday. It was just they had everything, and then it just turned into Turkey Whirl, Mayflower, and Gobbler Getaway, and then either yesterday or today they got it fixed and got the right flyer back out there.
Okay. Back's killing me. All right. But I know Airtime Mike doesn't watch our things, but he has a challenge for all of us. So he has a challenge for everybody going to Holiwood Nights. It's the 100 ride Voyage challenge. I think it's a crazy challenge, but he's challenging you to see if you get 100 rides on the Voyage during the 2 days at Holiwood Nights.
Game on. Game on.
Game on. 100 rides. I guess I won't be able to walk Monday morning, but well,
I mean,
you could probably try it. I'll probably have less of a chance of doing it.
Well,
Friday night, I'll probably get more rides.
Even without Holiwood Nights, on a typical day, I was there, which you gotta keep in mind with me only living 2.5 hours away, and with everything going on, I went there. I tried to every week, but it fell about every other week. But minimal, I got 12 rides a day. Just don't break your back even more, Dustin.
Does anybody else want to join the challenge with us? We're going to take on that challenge, I think, from Airtime. I'm going to have less of a chance of doing it on Saturday, but I'm going to try to get as many rides on Friday, unless the night ride scares me to the point where I don't want to ride it again, which I doubt is going to happen.
The big question, which one thing I don't think anybody's asked them, is if the inline's going to be effect during Friday's Holiwood Night sessions. Yes, I know it's going to be in effect during the day when the park is open, but after the park closes Saturday and why we're there Friday, is the inline system going to be in effect?
That's a good question. Anymore, it's a tentative schedule, so a lot of things could change. I personally, since I don't even know how many tickets they sold for this event. I know a lot of people originally were projected to go, can't go because due to youth sports or their kids being in school now. So I don't think it's going to be as busy as it was supposed to be busy before. You think it will be? What, the inline being in effect? If I was going, I would do the challenge, Greg says. There's still tickets, Greg, if you still wanted to go. There's still tickets. But $41 if you're a season pass holder, $67 if you're not. $67 includes the whole day on Saturday plus the 2 days of ERT. So in reality, it's not even that expensive.
Well, that and if you need to join a coaster club, like
I think Great Ohio Coaster Club, which we're a part of, Jeremy from there, who's the secretary, said as long as you buy the membership by the 21st of August, you'll have your membership card by Holiwood Night. So remember that. So if you guys were,
and they're pretty good if you have the email. Normally, Holiday World accepts that as well.
Yeah, and they said in their thing, no 1983 Coaster Club cards. They said they would personally laugh in your face and tell you you can't come in. So here's a tentative Saturday schedule, and then we'll go over the Coasting for Kids event. We'll talk more about this in a different podcast. I think we're up to an hour and 20 minutes. Long. Mm-hmm. These live feeds are kind of nice because it allows us to interact with our fans more than we can in our other videos. 8 a.m. Coasting for Kids registration begins. So like you said on that, the award ceremony is at 8:45. Looks like Greg might look into it now. So
what Greater Ohio Coaster Club membership was what, $20? 40?
20 or 25, but it's for a full year. Group photo at 8:55. This is for the Coasting for Kids event.
Yep. And then you get exclusive ride time.
Cheetah Chase ERT starts at 10 that morning. And Thunderbird at 9 a.m. So there's your extra rides if you wanted it. I'm trying to bring up, I think what we looked at here, as long as you have a Holiwood Nights ticket, as long as your group has $50 raised, you're allowed to participate in that Coasting for Kids event. So if you originally purchased an all-day Friday ticket, there you go. You could apply that towards the Coasting for Kids event from what Holiday World was saying. So originally there was all-day Friday, all-day Saturday plus ERT. So if I had all-day Friday, Holiday World was allowing you a refund towards the Coasting for Kids event if you wanted to keep both nights of the ticket. So tentative schedule for Saturday, 2 p.m. Voyage and Thunderbird photo, video, walk back, snacks and drinks available in the fireworks viewing area. 3 for 4, those wishing not to participate in the walk back may meet at the gates of fireworks viewing area to enjoy the snack. 6 to 7:30 buffet meal. 6 p.m. Holiday World closes to the public. Enthusiasts must enter the park before closing or wait until the park is clear. Sorry, I just had an alert. One of our friends said that Magnum was only running 2 trains today at Cedar Point. Silent auction at 7 p.m., which we're participating in. The silent auction has, I think, been moved online due to COVID. So if you guys are wanting to participate in it, once this live link is over, I will put it in the description below so you guys are able to bid on those. There's walkbacks available, ride time, exclusive ride time available, and also there's items available on a different one. 7 p.m. approximate Thunderbird, Voyage, Legend, and Raven ERT. That will end at 10:30. I imagine they'll extend that over to 11. They've done that in prior years. They've actually extended it out to 11. So Gobbler Getaway ERT. I don't know why I think it's funny. 7:30 to 8:30, Holler and Firecracker ERT. So if you want to get your exclusive ride time on the kiddie coaster, that's the time to go over there. 7:30 to 8:30, 8:40 to 10:30, Gobbler Getaway. And I imagine people are going to be doing that. Like you said, the inline, Dustin thinks that the inline, it could possibly be present. If it's present, I could see roller coaster enthusiasts to cool off or just to have something to do going back and forth between Gobbler Getaway to Voyage. 11 p.m. ERTN, so it is till 11 p.m. Be nice if we got a little splash of rain because I heard they extended by however long the rain lasts, so maybe we'll get midnight rides on it. Open during ERT, Spider's Web and Merlin's Castle game locations. So if you guys are interested in it, we'll have another show talking more about it as more details become readily available on it. But that kind of concludes our live feed today. We thank you guys for joining in. We're at an hour and 25 minutes. So those of you stuck with us, thank you very much. I think in the future, we'll probably try to limit to an hour or less. But if you guys have any ideas what you guys want us to talk about in future, what we want to call this, discussions, podcasts, whatever, go ahead and comment below. This is being featured on Facebook and also on YouTube. So with that being said, I'll let Jacob close out whatever he wants to say, and then we'll get off of here.
Well, we definitely will be back later this week to discuss Holiwood Nights, and we might have a surprise for you every night after Holiwood Nights. It's all a work in progress, but if you have any ideas on what you would like us to talk about, please send us an email, send us a message on Facebook. We love to hear your guys' feedback, and we hope to see you guys here on our next show.
Yeah, so I didn't know I could do that on here. I'm learning something new every time. But we're going to have a couple guests in the future that are going to join us on the shows. Some people that have been on Holiwood Nights before to talk about it, so we know what we're getting ourselves into. But yeah, if anybody that knows El Toro Ryan or knows Airtime Mike, in case he doesn't see this, our team is going to take the challenge. I think Jacob's probably going to take the challenge more than any of us are. 100 rides on the Voyage, and that's Friday, all day Saturday, and then Saturday ERT, probably Coasting for Kids event includes that too. 100 rides seems hard to do, but I think you get 5 rides an hour easily on it. So maybe 8 during ERT, who knows? I think Saturday is going to be busier than Friday because a lot of people that I've talked to enthusiast-wise said that Friday or Saturday they're coming, but Friday they won't be able to show up. So we might get a lot of extra ride time on Friday night. It might be less busy, and I could see why people aren't going to show up till Saturday. It starts. What time does it start again? What time did I say it starts at 7 for the ERT, or is it 5?
5 for Splash and Safari.
Yeah, you're right. And then, okay, so yeah, we'll talk about this more. We're gonna do another live show, I think, on Sunday, since a lot of you guys are bored on Sundays, to give you guys something to do and watch. Oh wait, it'll probably be in the afternoon because I think we'll talk about it later. We'll post an event on there so you guys know what time. We'll either do it on Sunday or Monday morning. Or not Monday morning, but you know what I mean. So we will see. We'll see you guys later. Thanks again for watching, Midwest Coaster fans. Please be sure to subscribe, like. If you guys aren't following us or subscribe to us on YouTube, please do so.
Check out the Instagram.
And the Instagram. The Instagram. 493 right now. 493 right now. Yeah, we need to up it on there. We've been kind of slacking lately, so
maybe something a little special at 500 followers.
Yeah, we could do that at 500 followers. So you follow us on Instagram since we hit 500, and it maintains that for at least a day. Maybe we'll throw in a shirt to you guys or something like that. So with that being said, you guys have a good Friday. We'll see you guys here on Sunday or Monday. Have a good one.